Welcome to our Climate Wisdom Studio, live from Baku in Azerbaijan. We bring together experts from science, politics and spirituality to explore the unfolding climate disaster. Myself, I'm Golo Pilz, and I will be tonight's moderator, and our topic will be sustainable futures, a very interesting topic. This is the last day of this climate conference, and all the delegates, or many delegates, are quite frustrated due to the lack of progress, especially on the finances for the developing countries. The main controversy is a staggering amount. Some people offer 200 billion US dollar, and some countries they ask for 1 trillion US dollar. In between is the range where the climate conference has to settle down. A staggering amount. The talks on phasing out fossil fuel are also going very slow, and it seems some of the oil-producing countries are very actively watered down the negotiation process. However, it is too early to conclude on this climate conference, as for sure the delegates have to do some overtime. I'm very happy to have two experts with me tonight who maybe or hopefully will shed some more light on this rather complicated topic. I have with me Mahesh Pandya. Welcome, Mahesh. You are an engineer and you live in Ahmedabad in Gujarat, in very populous state in India. In 1996, you founded, I hope I spelled that right, Paryavaran.
Paryavaran Mitra, yes.
Paryavaran Mitra, which means Friends of the Environment. And you are also the editor of the bi-monthly magazine and have authored many books and publications on environment, climate change and ecology.
Yes.
Welcome very much to our interview. I'm also glad to have with us Sister Jayanti. You are the additional administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris, a spiritual organization with 6,000 centers in India and 1,000 centers abroad. The Brahma Kumaris has been accredited to the United Nations Climate Conference since 2009, and Sister Jayanti has been to almost all the climate conferences. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mahesh, this brings me to my first question to you. Share a bit what Paryavaran Mitra, the Friends of the Environment, are doing in India. I know you're also very active in the field of education and you're going to schools, awareness campaigns for the youngsters. And our audience might be also very interested. How is the response of the young people, the young generation in India to the unfolding ecological crisis?
Namaste and thank you Golo and Sister Jayanti. Be here, I'm pleasure. It's a very good interesting question because you already told that Gujarat is a industrial state, India is a populated country. In number of the judiciary verdicts, Supreme Court verdicts about the education, until and unless if the environmental education is not entered into the school and college curriculum, then the powerful, stringent and strong environmental laws cannot function. That is why they focus on environmental education. So we bring this topic. We are going to the school and colleges and giving a practical reality of the environment, climate change and industrial pollution. So what we are doing? We are giving a training to the environmental educators, like bachelor degree they are getting. We are going there, training them on environmental law, waste management, climate change and all. So they spread out the message to their students. Also, we are giving a training to the professors of the social work, journalism, even engineering. So the coming students in next generation, they can learn more about the reality of the environment rather than the bookish and all. So we are getting a good response to school, colleges and universities. Also the government invited me as an expert to prepare a textbook curriculum on environmental education in Gujarat. So that is why we set up a group called the Green Catalyst. Sister Jayanti, we form a green catalyst group where we selecting the engineering students, law students, social work students, journalism students, and giving a kind of 2-day, 3-day training on waste management, environmental law, climate change, industrial pollution. We bring them for the exposure trip and how the effluent is treating, how the sewage is treating, how the biomedical waste is disposed of or the plastic waste is disposed of, so they can learn. And after that the students are making a communication package for awareness, and the students, they are going to the school, colleges and community places, and they are spreading the awareness through the kids street play, pamphlet, some other model of media. So we are getting a good response in Gujarat and other states.
That's wonderful. I like very much when you said that you also train the educators so they can actually replicate it to their students. It's very nice. Thanks very much for sharing. Sister Jayanti, yesterday was your last day at the climate conference, and you literally gave your heart and your soul, you can say, and spoke in so many programs and shared your spiritual insights. But you also listened to many speakers, and I'm sure you might have been touched by one or the other story. Please share with our audience what stuck your mind and what touched you and what inspired you.
I was most interested to hear about a development that Brahma Kumaris have been talking about since 2009 at these conferences, but now it's being taken up on a university level, and in particular at the University of Lund in Sweden. One of the professors there spoke about the inner development goals, and this is what we've been talking about for a long time, as you know. And so when we look at the subject of inner development, then of course in my language it speaks about spirituality, because inner development really takes up the story about empathy and compassion and how it is we relate to others and collaborate with others to bring about change in a situation so that we can move forward together. So I've been very touched by this in particular. Of course, so much is happening in such a beautiful way. Solar panels are being introduced in underprivileged areas and schools in India by an organization. So things like this are very good news.
So that inspired you. It's very interesting that slowly, let's say the world wakes up to the inner dimension of climate change, and that it is related to our inner world, you know. And when we start changing on the inside, the outside will also change. Very nice. Thanks very much. Mahesh Bhai, in India, as you also already said, India is really densely populated, you know, no doubt about this. And it's also on the trajectory for industrialization. I think the current government gives a priority to that. So everything is going in India at a very high speed. Right now, the government has a lot of infrastructure projects for industrial development, and I can imagine and I can see that also that in India resources are getting tight. And there might be often conflicts between local community, industries and the government for land, for space, for resources, for water and so on. In such cases, could you play the role of a mediator? Have you done that? And how are you able to help local communities to deal with such situations?
Mr. Golo, these are very good questions. I'm an environmental engineer, and at that time, 30 years before, I have a good opportunity to work with the government or the industries. But I think that the pollution issue is in large scale, and indigenous people and poor people are very badly affected with the pollution. Also, they lost their land, farms, everything because of the highly speed industrialization. So I decided to become a bridge between the industries, government, judiciary and community people. And that is why Paryavaran Mitra, going to the community, try to understand the issues, and then we put it forward before the government or the industries, and sometimes we are also going to the High Court or the Supreme Court on behalf of the community to get the justice. But before that, we are playing a mediator role between the industries and community, government and community, and then last resort we are going to the judiciary. Because the environment is a new subject even today for the judiciary. They could not understand the technical words of the environment like pH, COD, BOD, because they are from the arts and commerce graduations. So that is why what we are doing is we are trying to simplify the terminology of the environment for the community, for the judiciary also. What is the environmental impact assessment? We are teaching to the community how to raise the issue, because we are believing non-violence. Whatever we are working in the faith of the democracy. In the democratic way, we are raising the issue before the government or the judiciary or the industries people. So we are giving a training to the community. We are helping them technically, legally. And then after all, doing a good advocacy in the even the assembly or in the parliament, we are raising a very good questions or the problems of the community regarding the industrial pollution or the land grabbing or the land acquisition before the assembly or the parliament. And then finally, if nothing happens, then we are encouraged to take a benefit of the judiciary and go to the judiciary. So that is our role. So we are playing a positive role. So industrial growth is also going on and not much damage to the community. So this is the role, positive role and positive criticism regarding the industrialization. So sometimes government is also asking us, they are calling us, judiciary is also inviting us that why don't you become a party in any case. So we are helping and we are becoming a bridge between the community and the government or the community and industries.
I heard also that recently there was a landmark case in Delhi in the High Court. It's about clean air. That some people they said that we have the right. It's a basic human right to have clean air, and the court agreed to that. And it might have some further implications in the future for government and for industries. So that's very nice. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, Golo, that is why the most time the Supreme Court is telling that create a awareness among the youth, among the students. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. That brings me back to Jayanti Ben. You are an accomplished yogi practitioner since more than 50 years. And yoga is an old Sanskrit word and means union or connection. And connection with the divine for changing, bringing a profound inner change. It is said regular meditation builds up inner strength, resilience, and also gives hope. How this will help to bring us a sustainable future?
I see that materialism and consumerism are the two things that have brought humanity to the present crisis, because consumerism is rampant. When I travel in India now, even little towns have huge shopping malls, which 15 years ago I didn't see, or even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's an indication of how much consumerism has risen across the world. That's one example, but we see it everywhere. You see the big trademarks all over the world, whether it's
cars also getting bigger and bigger.
Whether it's in food or clothes or anything else. And so all of these things are telling me that what people want is happiness, really. You go by things thinking this is going to make you happy. And what yoga does is to remind me that happiness is inside of me. And yoga means union of the self with the divine. And being outside, whatever you can buy will last only for a short while. Maybe a few minutes, maybe a few days, and maybe a few months, not much more than that. And so if I want real happiness, it's when I go deep within that I connect with the divine and I discover the true joy, happiness, and love are there within me. And so I think that when this simplifies my life, because I'm no longer shopping till I drop, but I'm content. And in that state, yes, definitely, it'll be a major contribution. The other thing, Mahesh Bhai, you referred to non-violence, and I see non-violence as part of the whole system of food production. And so if we were to revert to plant-based diet, which is what human beings are actually created for, if we look at our teeth, our gut, and everything else in terms of biology, we are not made to be omnivores or anything else, but we're made to be really herbivores. And if we revert to that, there's a benefit on health, but also benefit to the ecosystem. There's a lot of evidence about that also. So yoga, if I am not already on a plant-based diet, encourages me to come back to that, so that that again becomes a big contribution. But maybe the biggest contribution is that I learn to live a life without anxiety and fear. Because at the moment, the impact of the world outside is such that maybe depression is the biggest problem in terms of health. And when we come back to something that can bring us inner peace and stability and a deep understanding that the seeds that I sow today are going to bring me fruits in the future. And I'm talking about trees, but I'm also talking about actions. So my thoughts of purity and peace will create a world of peace and purity in which we can all live together in harmony. And so when that fear and anxiety goes away, our quality of relationships changes. And so we're able to support each other, collaborate with each other, and work together.
Wonderful how nicely you wrapped it all up in such a short time. Thanks very much. Mahesh, coming to our last question. The conference literally ends today. The poor negotiators have to sit in windowless rooms for 48, 72 hours, maybe until Monday. We had that in the past already. And until now, the results are not really encouraging for the world community and also for all the delegates here. It's COP29, means the 29th COP we have now in a row, and the emissions are still on the rise. You know, it's very interesting. And climate change becomes a grim reality also for many people in India. I was in Delhi in summer when it crossed 50 degrees, and that was very tough, especially if you don't have an air condition, which most of the people. Now the question is, how relevant is the climate conference in the future? And is it still the right format, or we have to think outside of the box? We have to bring in some other dimension or some other concept and maybe start more from grassroots, whatever. Please share your thoughts.
It's really good question, and today I'm frustrated. I went to the COP, and most of the time, today the last day even, there is no much more people there, empty conference and all. This time, the world well-known countries' leaders did not came. This is a financial COPs, and the developing countries and underdeveloped countries is asking more finance, and it's a climate justice basically. They are not begging because they want to do the adaptation, they want to do the mitigation, but where is the money? Who are the responsible? So the demand is $1 trillion American dollar, but I lost the hope. So we must have to think something else out of box. So the community in their respective countries, they have to raise the voice. We do not have to rely on the Paris Agreement or COP and all, because nothing is going to be happen. It is 29 years after getting this UNFCCC. Where is the progress? And the NCQG is not happening in a progressive way. Also,
can you explain what is UN?
New collective quantified goal.
That's so after the Paris
after the Paris Agreement, we have to set up a new goal because we have to review the Paris Agreement and then set up a new goal. But it is not in progress because without the money, without the finance, how could the small island or the underdeveloped countries work about the adaptation? They are not responsible at all. Take an example of the Fiji or the Philippines. They are not emitting the carbon, but
So
facing a lot
what
of
is-
problem.
What is outside of the box now?
And that is why, because the developed countries are going there to develop, even in India. India is inviting the many industries over here, and you already mentioned about the Delhi. They crossed the 500 AQM, 500 ppm. It should be 100, but it's 5 times more than that. It's difficult to take a breath. So money is not only matter. Only the GDP cannot function. Either the 3 trillion American dollar GDP or the 10 million American dollar GDP. I want pure water, pure air. I want clean my Sabarmati river. And that is the basic issue. So this is also fight and dialogue with our government also, that please keep balance about the development and environment. If you are developing a lot, but on the other hand, we are depleting our natural resources. We are losing the local job. Our farmer is losing job. Our tribal people is losing their job, common land. Because like in India, I will give you a small example. I know the time limit, but in my state, we have a thumb rule that if there is 100 animal in a one village, so we have to keep 40 acre of the land reserve. So the cattle keeper, they can earn, and it's a rural economy. But now the 70% villages in my state, they are a zero common land, zero grazing land. Now they became jobless. On the other hand, the GDP is increasing. India is getting developed, and the Nigeria stated day before that there is no need of India because they are come under the developed countries. But reality is different. Yeah.
So you mentioned also about the communities, local communities,
Yes.
and I think that is also one valuable idea which you brought up to strengthen local communities. And instead of waiting that from the top, the big solutions are coming, that we look at the communities and develop the communities and make them strong and build their resilience and hope, and start with climate action wherever possible. Thanks very much for all these insights. And this brings us now slowly to the end of our session. And I would like to ask Sister Jayanti to guide one meditation for a sustainable future.
Hearing all these things that we've been listening to, I know that inner development is the most important issue. And so can I turn inwards? And can I find within myself the power to bring about change? I know that there is a possibility of goodness within, but I know I need help to emerge that. In the awareness of the eternal self, the being of light, I connect with the divine, and from the source of peace, truth, and love, I fill myself with power, but a power that is gentle, filled with love and peace, but a power that guides me towards truth, a power that reminds me of using my inner happiness so that I can be less dependent on things out there. As I begin to change inside, I have the capacity to change my lifestyle and contribute towards a sustainable future for all. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Thanks, Sister Jayanti, for taking us to a beautiful future. And I feel such meditations, if they're practiced more often, and maybe also more often at the climate conference, definitely it would have a positive impact on the negotiations and also on the mental health and happiness of the delegates. It's not easy to be always at the climate conference, I know. So thanks very much, Sister Jayanti. Thanks very much, Mahesh Bhai, to be with us today at this very interesting session and interview. And special thanks also to our patrons and to our sponsors who made this Climate Wisdom Studio possible. Thanks also to all the volunteers behind the camera people here, but also at the internet side and in India, who did all the streaming and all the efforts. Because special thanks, because this is our last session. And it's the last live session from Climate Wisdom Studio from COP29. And for more details on all the 22 sessions, you please visit our webpage, echo.brahmakumaris.org/live, and you will feel all the episodes which we have done, approximately 22, with different titles, and you can see them on YouTube, and I hope you enjoy them. And thanks to all of you, our audience, for staying for so many episodes with us. And we hope you have been inspired by the science, by the stories, and by the wisdom to see hope for a sustainable future for all of us. And for the last time, good night and goodbye from Baku in Azerbaijan.